Hi, and welcome back to the Paris Prince of Troy hate train. Today we are going to talk about how he took out Achilles. This is not something that I had to read or study when I was doing my education, so this one was a little fun for me to try to find all the different source materials to put together. And there are many versions of how this happened. But I'm going to tell you the version that I'm favoring, at least in this Paris hate train, right? Because we all have certain ideas about who Paris is, and this version falls the most in line with who I think he is. So, to start out, the boring versions are that in battle, Achilles got too close to the walls, and Paris, from the towers of Troy with his bow and arrow, guided by Apollo, just happened to hit the right spot. You don't want to hear that. The juicy version, in my opinion, is this idea that Achilles may have fallen in love with a Trojan princess at one point. He saw her from afar, kind of kept note of her, thinking, when we take Troy, she's the one I want, and then kind of just moved on with his life. At some point, though, he did ask Priam, I want your daughter, I want her hand in marriage. And I can promise that I'll leave and I'll take my troops with me to set an example for the rest of the Greeks. Priam wasn't willing to take this offer unless it was total peace, right? Girl for a girl, that makes sense. So after the death of Hector, in this version at least, he agrees. He says, you know what do I have to lose? I've lost so many sons already. Really, the only notable one left is the coward, so I might as well. And he sends instructions for Achilles to meet him and claim Polyxena, his daughter. Now, Paris and his brother Deiphobos came up with their own plan. They went rogue on this one, and they hid out in the bushes waiting for that message to go out to Achilles and followed him into the temple of Apollo where he was supposed to meet to claim Polyxena. And they play it up for a second. They're like, hey, new brother-in-law, you got the instructions? That's so great. And Paris is facing towards the altar. Deiphobos goes in for a hug. Now, Paris had a concealed dagger the entire time, and Deiphobos doesn't let go of this hug. So Paris in the side, and that's how Achilles gets taken out. He had Odysseus and Ajax and somebody else, I forgot who, were waiting in the bushes because they didn't know what was happening. They thought he was about to double cross them. So he is able to say it was Paris and Deiphobos. They tricked me into thinking I was going to marry Polyxena. And that's how it went down. Now, the only thing that people seem to agree about that story, Polyxena, is that she was sacrificed in order for the Greeks to leave Troy. She was sacrificed to Achilles as his posthumous war bride, in a way. And it's supposed to be thought of as like a full circle moment from the Iphigenia thing, that they had to sacrifice Agamemnon's daughter in the beginning of the war for the winds to work, so Polyxena has to be sacrificed to Achilles in order for the winds to work on the way home for whatever reason. There's other versions, like one where Polyxena goes with Priam when Priam is trying to ransom back the body of Hector, and she offers herself as a slave. And yet another version where Polyxena won the trust of Achilles, found out about his heel, and then told Paris, and then Paris went rogue. So, either way you spin it, in all of these versions, Paris either needs divine intervention, he needs to ambush Achilles, he's not going to take him on head to head, and he just it's so cowardly. I can't. The fact that he needed to manipulate him, to defraud him, to ambush him, to have him held, restrained in order to do it in some cases, or, Apollo just did all of the work himself. I'm not going to count it as his win, It's Apollo's win, if anything, because even in the version where they're in the temple, they're in Apollo's temple. I don't give Paris credit for that one.